Did you know Christmas Day was often a time when enslaved African people ran away from the plantations or held rebellions? One of the largest rebellions started on Christmas Day, December 25th, 1831, in Jamaica, and is known as the Christmas Rebellion or the Baptist War. 60,000 enslaved Africans carried out the largest uprising in British West Indies history. This uprising would eventually lead to Great Britain abolishing slavery in 1833. And this was part of the deliberations when they were deciding to abolish slavery. For enslaved African people in the Americas, the holiday season of Christmas was a time of both rare festivity and calculated resistance. It was a brief period when they were offered better food and rest by their slave owners, not out of kindness, but as a strategy to prevent rebellion. Face to Face Africa has a great article that talks about this history. Now, Christmas also provided opportunities for enslaved African people to plot escapes and uprisings, highlighting the complex dynamics of life in bondage. The great abolitionist and former slave Frederick Douglass exposed the intentions of slave owners behind such gestures, describing them as efforts to placate enslaved people and maintain control. However, many saw through this manipulation and used the holiday of Christmas as a time for escape or rebellion. And one of the reasons why is because a lot of the white people were drunk and not paying attention, right? So this gives you time to run away or plan your rebellion. So what happened in Jamaica? Christmas Day, December 25th, 1831, 60,000 enslaved Africans carried out the largest uprising in British West Indies history. The uprising would prove a milestone on the road to emancipation. So the Baptist War or Christmas Rebellion in 1831 in Jamaica was led by a Black Baptist deacon named Samuel Daddy Sharp. Samuel Daddy Sharp originally organized enslaved Africans to participate in a peaceful general strike on December 25th, 1831, demanding wages and increased freedoms for enslaved African people. While nonviolence was intended, Samuel Sharp was under no illusions that the infamously violent planter class there in Jamaica, the white plantation owners, would respond in kind. The initially peaceful demonstration soon became a violent uprising, and out of a population of 600,000 enslaved African people, an estimated 60,000 took up arms to resist their oppression. Any pretense of a peaceful demonstration was lost when Kensington Estate was set ablaze by enslaved rebels, with the rebellion taking place in earnest soon after. So the Baptist War or the Christian Rebellion is going to last for 11 days. It was considered the largest slave rebellion in the British West Indies. The name Christmas Rebellion came from the fact that the uprising began shortly after Christmas on December 25th. It was also called the Baptist War because many of the rebels were Baptists in faith. They were, even though they were slaves, they were followers of the Baptist religion. Jamaica, like most British Caribbean colonies, was overwhelmingly a slave colony. The majority of the population were enslaved African people. The enslaved outnumbered the whites on the island by far the largest British Caribbean colony. They outnumbered them 12-1. They revolted in 1831 partly because of an economic depression that affected some impoverished whites and made them allies of the rebel enslaved African people. Tensions were high as well because the abolition of slavery was being debated in the British Parliament, and Jamaican planters, disturbed at the prospect, of losing their enslaved African people and slavery being abolished, made inflammatory speeches and wrote articles in the newspapers attacking the emancipation of African people. Their attitudes and actions contributed to the agitation and discontent of the slave majority. The planning and organization of the revolt came from enslaved leader Samuel Daddy Sharp, who had been given limited freedom to move around the island. Samuel Sharp used this freedom, especially the ability to travel on a traditional holiday or religious service, to discuss and plan for the actual revolt. At the end of a regular prayer meeting in mid-December 1831, Samuel Sharp and a selected group of leaders stayed behind to discuss the plans for the revolt. Samuel Sharp recalled examples from the Demerara slave revolt in 1823 in Guyana and rebellions on Caribbean islands to encourage his followers. He then had them swear on a Bible to follow the plan outlined. On Christmas Day, 1831, the leaders of the uprising went on strike, demanding more free time and a working wage. They refused to return to work until the plantation owners met their demands. So originally, this protest was going to be nonviolent, but the strike quickly escalated into a full rebellion when the planters refused their demands. On Monday, December 27, 1831, the rebellion broke out on the Kensington estate near Montego Bay. As sugarcane fields were set on fire, white people not already in town for Christmas fled to Montego Bay and other communities. Now, I'm not sure if the burning down of these slave plantations was the inspiration for the song, the roof is on fire, we don't need no water, but maybe it was, who knows? Now, this Christmas rebellion ended during the first week of January 1832. It lasted for 11 days. However, sporadic resistance continued for another 2 months as the rebels resorted to guerrilla tactics while fighting in Jamaica's mountainous interior. At the end of the fighting, 14 free African people who supported the rebellion and over 200 rebels had been killed. More than 300 enslaved African men and women were executed, including Samuel Sharp, who was hanged. Samuel Sharp surrendered to the British military and accepted blame for the failed result. Historians say he did this to save Baptist missionaries from being blamed. Samuel Daddy Sharp was hanged in Montego Bay on May 23, 1832. Just before his execution, he said these words, quote, "I would rather die upon yonder gallows than live in slavery," end quote. His revolt is believed to have played a huge role in British Parliament's deliberations over the following months that finally led to the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833 that ended slavery. But we know that the British said that those enslaved Africans had to serve in an apprenticeship program for about 4 years. So freedom really did not come to them until 1838. Samuel Sharp is remembered as a national hero in Jamaica, with his likeness printed on the $50 Jamaican banknote. So what are your thoughts on this? Post your comments here on this video. I'm historian and national political commentator Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network and host of the African History Network show. Check out articles from blackpast.org dealing with the Baptist War of 1831 to 1832. Also, the Jacobin has an excellent article dealing with the Christmas Rebellion of 1831, as well as face-to-faceafrica.com. Follow me on my social media platforms at the African History Network on Facebook and Fanbase, on YouTube and Instagram at Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. Watch the African History Network show on my social media platforms Sundays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. We have all of that information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Watch me on Friday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Roland Martin Unfiltered, where I provide historical and political analysis, and register for my online history classes on Sundays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ancient African Empires, the Moors, and the Transatlantic Slave Trade, 5000 BC to 1800 AD. Class starts up Sunday, January 4th, 2026. Remember, right now is correct. Wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever.